Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well. And today we're talking about Bob Iger. For some reason this is something that was not really covered all that much. At least I didn't see it get covered by a lot of people. And that is that Bob Iger says that he is indeed going to be stepping down in 2021. Now let's just go ahead and lay out the framework for a second. Bob Iger, the man that's been behind the hiring of Kevin Feige, the one who's been essentially behind the MCU, also Star Wars, is stepping down. Now what does this mean and what does this possibly say about the actual fatigue that is going on here? Because notice how Bob Iger that was saying, oh yeah, I think there's some fatigue element to it. I think we did too much too fast with the Star Wars universe, and people weren't just weren't ready for 2 movies every single year. The universe just wasn't made for it yet. We just tried to do too much. Instead of actually, stating facts and reality, which was that, The Last Jedi sucked and that Rian Johnson has been terrible for the franchise, seeing that pretty much everything we've been seeing from Episode 9 has been either retconning or going in completely different directions than everything that Rian Johnson hoped for, which kind of throws everything in the face when you remember that Kathleen Kennedy is the one that's supposed to be behind all of this, who's supposed to be having, the mastermind behind it all, supposed to have a plan, and yet she's like, oh yeah, we got, 10 years planned out ahead of us. Really? What happened to the last 3 films? Because you obviously didn't plan that far ahead, seeing that you had to retcon a bunch of things, fire somebody 80% of the way through filming their film and stole a Star Wars story, and many other stupid decisions. You obviously don't really know how to plan that far ahead, Kathleen Kennedy. Go ahead and step down now. How about you go ahead and follow your good friend Bob Iger out the door? Let Bob Iger step down in 2021. How about you step down in 2020? How about you let Episode 9 come out and then say, oh, you know what, I'm going to retire, and you can make it all nice, and all the shills in the media will try and say, oh my gosh, the career that this woman has had has been tremendous. She was behind the revival of Star Wars. Need you not forget that the Episode 7, The Force Awakens, made $2 billion and had been out of, George Lucas had been destroying the franchise with, Clone Wars, which was awesome and people loved it. And wait, who canceled that again? Oh, that's right. Kathleen Kennedy canceled it. And then what happened? Oh, wait, that's right. Everyone wanted the story continued, and so they finally caved in and said, oh, well, now that we're doing the Disney streaming service, let's put a show on there that people actually want to see. And guess what? The second billing, what I would say is tied for top billing for the Disney streaming service network is. Oh, wait, that's right. Mandalorian, is up there, and Clone Wars Season 7. Who would have thunk? Who would have thought? Dave Filoni, God, man, you should be ahead of creative. In fact, how about we do this? As I said before, let Jon Favreau be, the producer. Let him be the person behind all the money. He can, have some creative input too, because he's a pretty creative guy. And then Dave Filoni, you just take, you could take control of the entire, dissolve the story group, and how about you just write everything? You bring in the people that you want to bring in, that who've helped you before, who are going to bring you good ideas, and then just keep on moving forward. Because guess what? You know what? I think that obviously is how everything works best for you, because you got Clone Wars under your belt, you got Rebels, which was, again, moderated by Disney, which somehow you were able to still be able to tell a great story, even though you were obviously limited by the stories that you could tell, seeing that you couldn't really go nearly as dark as you were able to go with Clone Wars. And then on top of that too, now you have Season 7, you're also going to be directing some episodes of The Mandalorian, so it seems to me like you're very primed to be able to take over this role. However, we shall indeed see what happens. But what does this mean for Bob Iger? Well, I think with Bob Iger, I think that this is actual, I think that if we're going to talk about Star Wars fatigue, this is it right here. This is a dude that came over, has been chief executive since 2005. And not long after that, the Disney acquired Marvel. Again, Marvel has been a huge, gigantic success. Now it's starting to go woke, and he's starting to realize, oh, Endgame very well might be the end for us. How about I end up on a high note? Because guess what will happen between now and 2021? That's right, we'll get a couple movies, maybe a couple of MCU films, and maybe they'll start to go woke. But guess what? He's already going to have that date set. It's like, I'm already set to retire. Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to leave it in the hands of somebody who's going to have to deal with this mess. And then Star Wars, where's Star Wars going to be? Oh, that's right, totally on the streaming network. Because this is also the same man that says, oh yeah, you know what, Star Wars movies are going to go on a hiatus for just a little bit. Well, hopefully he's telling that same thing to Kathleen Kennedy, who's like, oh, we got the next 10 years of Star Wars films planned. Not the next 10 years of Star Wars stories, but the next 10 years of Star Wars films. Now, I'm sure in her head, she for some reason still thinks that's going to include the Game of Thrones guys doing their 3 films, and also Rian Johnson getting his godforsaken trilogy as well. What I honestly think is going to happen, if Bob Iger is the one that's stepping out in 2021, and he's the one that's been very protective and defensive of Kathleen Kennedy, which he really shouldn't be, because she's the one that's made these stupid mistakes. She's the one that's obviously responsible for a lot of this nonsense that's been going on behind the scenes. But also, too, I honestly think that he is not going to have anything to lose at this point, because he's already got a crap ton of money. His retirement plan is going to be so sweet and so overpaid. But when you're the Disney CEO, when you're the CEO of one of the largest corporations in the world that just acquired Fox, at least a lot of the assets of Fox, I mean, come on, what else can you really say? But I really hope that Kathleen Kennedy understands that, this Rian Johnson trilogy is not happening. I dare them to release the Rian Johnson trilogy in theaters. Seriously, I dare them. If they think that Star Wars fans that hated The Last Jedi are going to go support a new Star Wars film with Rian Johnson, even if it's good, even if somehow he pulls a rabbit out of his ass, I mean, I'm sorry, but no one is going to actually want to go see that film. Especially since he has gone from day one, anytime anyone has been critical of his film, said, oh, you're just a man baby, etc. Notice how he's thrown everyone under the same boat, saying, oh, you're toxic, oh, you're white man babies, and all of his little friends around him have been saying the same thing too. Again, the Pablo Hidalgos of the world, and of course, all the shill media supporting them. Brian Young being, of course, one of them. And so you look to all of these things going on. You look to the fact that Bob Iger stepping down. You look to the fact that Kathleen Kennedy, for some reason, is talking about the next 10 years of Star Wars films when the next Star Wars film isn't likely going to be out or at least announced for another 2 years. I mean, if we're talking about hiatus here, you need to at least go a year. You would think that 2 years, because the honest game plan, I think, going forward. Bob Iger goes out in 2021. You know what his main objective has been since taking over? Is having a Disney streaming service. That has been like his main objective. He's finally rolling it out this year in 2019. I think he's going to be all about the streaming service 2019, 2020, and then when he steps down 2021, I think he's going to come back and say, look how many subscriptions we have, look how much content we have, look at all the things we're doing on the streaming network. And what's going to be on the back of his mind is what's going on with Star Wars, or what's going on with the MCU. You want to know why? Because he has the MCU already in the hands of Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige is the one that's already going to set, is already going to run that universe for him. And guess what? Every single film has been profitable up to this point. And so he's going to be able to trust him and say, oh yeah, Kevin Feige, go ahead and keep on doing, Kevin, boy, go ahead and keep on doing everything that it is you're doing because you obviously know what you're doing. But then he's going to look at Kathleen Kennedy and say, you're talking about the next 10 years of films. And yet, just in the past 5 alone, you have single-handedly destroyed one of the greatest IPs in history. You allowed a film to go 80% of the way through production before finally realizing, oh, this is not the vision that we want. And then instead of actually going in and talking with them, you fired them outright, hired someone brand new who reshot everything. This is the person that you're going to want to plan the next 10 years of Star Wars films that might not actually start. I mean, for all I know, maybe he is a sadistic guy. Maybe he is. Or maybe he's such a good friend of hers, he says, I'll protect you for the next 2 years. How about this? You focus just on the Disney streaming shows. You focus on The Mandalorian, Clone Wars Season 7, the Cassian Andor series with K2SO, which is the only exciting thing about that series is Alan Tudyk coming back to voice that character, and all these other projects that are going on the streaming service, and you just leave the films as they are. So that eventually they can announce something in 2021 or 2022 when Bob Iger is no longer associated with it. So obviously I could see him either protecting her for the next couple years until he steps down, or on the flip side of that, saying, oh boy, I want to make sure everything looks really nice and neat so that way I leave the company strong and it doesn't make me look bad going afterward. Because guess what? Bob Iger is someone who very likely is going to try and pursue public office at least some point in his life. He seems to have indicated that he has an interest in such. He's obviously going to miss out on the 2020 election, which I think a lot of us didn't think that he was actually going to jump into this election specifically, but we know that he wants to pursue some form of public office. We know he's going to have a crap ton of money to be able to do so, so why would he want to risk that by allowing Kathleen Kennedy to continue to run roughshod all over the Star Wars universe? It's a good question. But again, as I said, if there's any fatigue in Star Wars, if there's any fatigue in the MCU, which there really doesn't seem to be at this point, even with them announcing that Spider-Man Far From Home will be the end of Phase 3, even though the Endgame was supposed to be the end of the saga. So let me get this straight. Endgame is the end of the Infinity War saga. However, Spider-Man Far From Home is the end of Phase 3. That doesn't make any damn sense. And that's obviously, you can see why Bob Iger's got his hands full. Because Kevin Feige might know what he's doing, but obviously you can see that things are starting to already unravel. Now, of course, this could be easily blamed on the relationship between Marvel and Sony, having some impact on that, but we shall indeed see how good that film is or how bad that film is going forward. But guys, what are y'all's thoughts? Do you think that Kathleen Kennedy honestly has a 10-year plan of Star Wars films, not just of Star Wars content, but of Star Wars films that are going to include the Rian Johnson trilogy, that are going to include the D.B. Weiss and Benioff trilogy? Do you think that it's going to be an Old Republic series? Do you think that this is the direction that she is going to actually be in charge of? Do you think that she honestly has a creative bone in her body to be able to do this? I don't. I look to this current trilogy and the independent films that came out between, and I look at it and say, this doesn't make any damn sense. Rogue One came out when it should have probably come out first, chronologically speaking. It would have made more sense to come out then. And if they were planning that, again, if she's thinking 10 years ahead, let's just assume she took over back, let's say, Disney took over in 2012, she took over the reins of Lucasfilm. Okay, so that means that she was able to plan the next, 7 years since they took over. Yeah, it's 2019, 7 years. So if she couldn't even plan out 7 years of Star Wars films, what in the hell makes you think she's going to be able to plan out 10? good God, this current trilogy is already a giant nightmare, because she was like, you know what's a great idea? I'm going to bring in all these indie directors. I'm going to bring in all these, really cool directors that listen to me, and they're going to make great films. And do they have to connect? No, we're going to respect George's vision. Remember her sitting down with George saying, we're going to respect your characters. And then, of course, she lets Rian Johnson subvert everyone's expectations and destroy Luke Skywalker and destroy so many other things that many of us love. Do you really think that this woman has a 10-year plan? And also, Bob Iger leaving in 2021. Do you think that this could be an indication that she's gone by, say, 2020, 2022? Maybe at the same time? I honestly don't know. I think they're going to try and spin it as a retirement and not as a firing, unless, of course, Bob Iger protects her and the person that takes over for Bob Iger does not like her very much. Then we could easily see that turn into something very ugly. But, hey, hope, hope, hope. This is what happens. Anyway, guys, please let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments below. Also, if you like this video, smash the like button, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe. I'm going to be traveling over the next few days, and so I'm going to be bringing my new portable setup that I've shared with some of y'all on the D-Live stream I did just the other day. It was a test run stream, so that's why maybe you didn't find out about it, but I am going to try and do some more streams over there on Twitch. Obviously, I got the restream going, putting the stream out to pretty much every location that I'm currently on at this point, but I did indeed get a new rig to be able to bring with me, so that way I can actually continue to create content. I can actually do live streams. My laptop that I have, the laptop that I started this channel with, is obviously very capable of doing basic things, but I remember trying to live stream with that, and I'm doing so many more things now with the live streams, there's just no way it would be able to actually handle it. So I have, I now have a portable, portable station. It's gigantic. I'm gonna show it to you guys when I can in the future. But man, oh man, we got a lot of things going on, a lot of traveling. So I'm hoping we're able to do our live streams like normal on Monday and Tuesday. But everything's gonna be up in the air since I'm obviously gonna be out of town looking for houses. And that's some positive news. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. And as always, God bless. And of course, have a blessed Easter.